This program on disruptive demographics and STEM was put together because of two big forces. The big one is the fact that population is growing globally at an astounding rate. We know there are 7 billion people on the planet today. We know that over the next 10 years, there'll be 1 billion more people. And we know that all of those people are competing and engaging one another in ways in which we haven't seen as a globe. This is putting unprecedented stresses on this country and on the individuals and people of this country in general. We have to compete now at a level in which we haven't competed in the past. And that competition must come from the whole of our society, not just single individual parts. So as we look out in our communities today, we see that there's still large groups of people who are not participating in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. They're not, and thereby they're not participating in the economic progress of the country. So a big part of what we're doing here today and what we're trying to start here at the Henry Samueli School of Engineering is we're trying to start the process of engaging and bringing those individuals into the process. We're trying to bring them in levels commensurate with their numbers in our society. Okay? Underrepresented minorities, Hispanics, African Americans, Native Americans are underrepresented in science, technology, engineering, mathematics. They make up somewhere about 30% of our overall population. And when you look overall, they make up less than 10% of the scientists and engineers in the country. Why is that important? Well, 85% of our productive capacity comes from science and technology. Women make up more than 50% of our population. Women only make up about 25% of the scientists and technologists. And when you look at some of the areas of engineering and physics, the hard sciences and engineering, you see that those numbers are even smaller than that. We can't fight this global competition with one or two hands tied behind our back. And so one of the things we've done to launch this is we brought in one of America's foremost speakers on this issue. His name is Dr. Calvin Mackie. While he's a personal friend, he's also one of my personal heroes. Not many people inspire me globally, but he is one who does. I don't want to tell you his story. I think he can do a very good job of telling that himself. And so I'm going to ask Dr. Mackie to come up to the podium and bless us with a message. Before that, is Kevin Huey here? So this program is actually put on by the Henry Samueli School of Engineering, but also by the Cross-Cultural Center. And Kevin here and both Thomas Parham have been extremely helpful in helping us to arrange this program and putting it in place. So without further ado, I bring you Dr. Mackie.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is that too loud? It's good to be here. You know, Greg and I, we go back to graduate school days when I was at Georgia Tech in grad school, and someone told me about him, and he came to interview us to see if he was going to come to grad school, and he decided not to come. And we've been competing ever since then. So when I got up, he said, Dr. Mack, I went up and tried to give him the Soul Brothers shake, and he wouldn't give it to me. I forgot he's at work, you know. He got ready to introduce me, and I turned to him and I said, is the dean here? I forgot, but Greg, hey, thank you for having me today. Caleb, UC Irvine, thank you all for having me. Parham, you all, thank you all for having me. Thank you all for coming out. Kevin, thank you for all that you've done with my staff, making sure I got here and got here in one piece. You know, I had to fly a coach all the way from Atlanta. That's 5 hours. That's traumatic when you got to fly a coach. So that's the elitism coming out of me. You know, since I left the faculty, now the people fly me first class. So I called Greg. He said, "Look, you flying to California for the UCI. You flying coach." There we go. No, I always fly coach, really. But I spent a lot of time saying thank you because it seemed like we've been raising an entire generation of young people who don't know the meaning of words like thank you, excuse me, hard work, sacrifice, persistence. And I don't want to be confused with them because my mother raised me different. Good evening, good afternoon. I need a little, this is too loud, right? That's right, man, I just lower it. So, it's good to be here. My name is Kelvin Mackie, and I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm from back of town, Gerttown, Zion City. I'm from the lower 9, where we don't mind dying. I'm from that Wild Magnolia. I thought I told you. I'm from that CP3. You know me. Don't worry about it. I'm going to explain all that in a minute. This is the way I get down. As a professor of engineering, a lot of times I would come into the class and I would shock my students. Because after about the first day, they would say, this cannot be my professor. And before I get going, there's a couple of caveats I got to give out. My beautiful wife, Tracy, happens to be a pharmacist, and she believes that I'm ADD, and I've never been treated before. So there's no way I can stand at this podium and do what I do, because I get excited. When I get excited, I might take the podium and throw it, and then the university charged me like $10,000 for a $5 podium like they do with tuition. So I can't stand behind the podium. I gotta move like this. Caveat number 2, don't confuse my passion with anger. I go places now, and I remember they escorted me out of the East Room of the White House. I'm like, no, I'm just passionate. I'm not mad. Like, no, Mackie, you got to go. I didn't mean it like that. So, so don't confuse my passion with anger. I'm not angry, I'm just passionate. And sometimes when people like me stand up and we give our opinion on things, some people confuse it with anger. I'm not angry, I'm just passionate. And my thing about it is this. Martin Luther King said at the end of the day, it's not the words of my enemies I shall remember, but the silence of my friends. My question is why more people are not angry? When you look at the situation, especially with our youth, especially with education, especially with many other communities in America, I want to know why people are not angry. Why I just got to be passionate about it? Why can I be mad about the fact that many kids in America still don't have access to the education that they're supposed to have in a free country called America? Why I should not be mad about the fact that a kid born in poverty got a 7% chance of going to a 4-year institution like UCI? Why am I not mad when I know that when you look at the black and brown communities, if they were represented like the way they're supposed to be represented in STEM, then we would not have a STEM issue. Why I should not be mad when I know the nation could be doing more, should not be doing more, but they're putting money in programs and going out and recruiting the same people at the same schools doing the same thing that's not going to get us the numbers that didn't give us the numbers 20 years ago. I'm not angry, I'm just passionate. Because I'm raising 2 sons. And my youngest son at 7 years old right now says he wants to be a pharmacist, and my 9-year-old who does experiments every night says he wants to be an astronaut. And every night I look in their eyes, I wonder why more kids that look like them are not aspiring to do the things that they're doing. Why is it universities can go all around this country and scour this country to find black boys to run footballs, hit baseballs, and dunk basketballs, but somehow will not scour this country in black and brown communities to find young boys and young girls to be scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians. Maybe they just don't believe. And that's what my presentation is today about. It's about believing. It's about hope, really. Because really, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're not getting the numbers that we're not supposed to be getting because we don't believe. We don't have hope in those communities. And let me tell you about hope. Because in New Orleans, we're going through this whole thing about education reform. And the funny thing about it, you have all of these people getting up, especially like in areas like Irvine, and they brag about the fact how beautiful the school is. And they brag about all the technology they got in the schools. And in New Orleans, I have a sign. I often say, we now got smart white boys and dumb black children. We got new schools, we got new technology, and now somehow as the technology has gotten smarter, the children has gotten dumber. So maybe the solution isn't a technology solution. If I can't read and you give me a small whiteboard, I just got a small whiteboard now and I can't read. If I can't count and you give me a calculator, now I just have a calculator that I cannot use. And that's why I invest in technology companies, because the technology allows me to make sure that the education people can buy all this technology and the stock keep going through the roof. But the kids getting dumber. So that somehow, in some place, we got to address that. And the issue is this: to get to success, to get to achievement, you got to go through hope. You have to start off very hopeful. You have to believe that you can do it, and then you have to bring together good professors, good teachers, and good curricula to make sure that I can get from hopeful to achievement and success. But the problem is, we don't understand that most of the kids that we're working with, they don't come in hopeful. They're coming in at despair. And to go from despair to hopeful to change, that's two different things. To go from despair to hopeful is different than going from hopeful to success. So that's why the same 10% of kids that we've always gotten into the STEM, we are still getting them in the STEM, because those are the same hopeful people that were showing up anyway. Those were the people who would be scientists, engineers, technologists, and mathematicians if we just get out of their way and don't do anything. But the question is, and the challenge for America is, how do we go from this 90% over here and get them from despair to hopeful, to believing that they could be a scientist, an engineer, a technologist, and create in Silicon Valley, to achievement? So for the last 20 years, I've spent my life trying to get people from despair to hopeful, so people like you in UCI can get them from hopeful to change. And you say, hope, I'm so tired of talking about this hope. Well, hope is very important, because an old lady named Rosa Parks sat down and she had hope and caused an entire nation to stand up. They had men in Tuskegee, and the nation told them that they could not fly, and the only thing that allowed these men to get in airplanes and fly in World War II was hope. Hope is the thing that made George Washington Carver do with peanuts in a laboratory 100 years ago that Harvard Ph.D.s cannot do today. Hope is the thing that turned Detroit Red to Malcolm X. Hope is the thing that took an angry man in South Africa, put him in jail for 26 years, and he came out a world leader. Hope is the thing that made John F. Kennedy say, don't ask what you can do for your nation. Don't ask what your nation can do for you. Ask what you can do for your nation. It's the thing, even though they had slaves, our founding fathers wrote, we hold all truth to be self-evident that all men were created equal. And then Patrick Henry said, give me liberty or give me death. Hope is the only thing that made a little black boy with a white mom and a funny name and a goat-herding daddy believe he could be president. Many people said, no, you can't, but our nation told him, yes, you can. Hope. Hope is the only thing that's going to get our kids from the inner cities of California, the inner cities of Louisiana, the inner cities from Chicago to where they're supposed to be and save a nation called America. And that's the thing that we've given up on. I know some of y'all sitting here, and a lot of academics don't believe in that, because a lot of us academics were the hopeful people. That's why we can't solve the problem. We're looking out saying, why they can't be more like me? I didn't need any hope. I studied hard, and I got my degrees. Now I got a Ph.D. Why they can't be like me? Why I got to go do all that? Nobody did that for me, because maybe you didn't need it. But we now have a Hurricane 5 off the coast of America, and we got to inspire 90% of the population to do the things that you didn't even need inspiration to do. And that's a challenge, because that's hard work. That's harder than coming up with a microwave or some smart materials or programming a robot. That's heart to heart. That's human to human. You know what? We got to become fishermen of men and women. We got to go to where they are and convince them of where they need to be. What are you talking about, Mackie? I'm talking about hope. And you just can't have hope. Don't get me wrong. You know, a whole lot of people right in California hope they're going to win the lottery, but at least you got to do is buy the lottery ticket. But our kids won't even buy the lottery ticket. See, I grew up in New Orleans. And I'm a Hurricane Katrina evacuee, a Hurricane Katrina refugee, and a Hurricane Katrina survivor. And as the rapper Young Jeezy would say, a soul survivor. So Hurricane Katrina is now more about you than it is about me, because I've had my catastrophe. There's a place called California that lives on something called Andrea's Fault, and maybe you haven't had your catastrophe yet. And the funny thing that Hurricane Katrina taught me is that you don't have to have water and a storm covering the whole Gulf of Mexico to have a catastrophe. Because all of us at some point in time have a catastrophe in our life, and we just have to know how to get through these catastrophes. And America is facing a catastrophe right now. in our global competitive workforce, if we don't do the things necessary to build the next generation of workers in America, we have a problem. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, my family lost 29 houses. 7 years ago, March, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, I lost my daddy. And 6 days before that, I lost my stepmother. We had 2 funerals in 3 days, real life, because they couldn't get the treatment that they deserved in a free country called America. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, we had over 45,000 kids showing signs of post-traumatic stress disorder in a free country called America. Not $1 had been allocated for their treatment. And now all across America, while crime is going down, the crime rate in New Orleans, like Chicago, is astronomical, and people sitting around going, well, I wonder why is that? I've spent my time now going around this country and around this nation to make sure that never again any of our children end up on a roof or a street corner with a sign asking a man, a woman, or a government to do for them what they otherwise could do for themselves. We have to make sure that all of our children get some dirt beneath their feet, some wind behind their back, and put something in their head so they can take care of themselves. And what all this Katrina thing got to do with everything? I used to be a professor too. I was an engineering professor. I was a professor at Tulane University, the first and only African American ever tenured in the history of College of Engineering at Tulane. I was a professor for 12 years. And in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, the greatest engineering disaster in the history of the United States of America, Tulane University president made an unbelievable decision. As a matter of fact, he's still winning leadership awards for this decision. He decided to keep the football team and eliminate the engineering program. No, it ain't hurt you like it hurt me. So, I mean, not only did I lose my family, not only did I lose my community, in the aftermath of the greatest engineering disaster, I lost my job. And I was a tenured faculty member. And I mean, I'll never forget, I called Dr. Washington, and he said, well, man, look, tenure is still a good thing. It's almost impossible to lose tenure. He said, Mackie, the only way to lose tenure is by an act of God. I said, well, fool, God decided to act. He said, but no, it was a miracle. It took a miracle for you to lose tenure. But guess what? The miracle happened. I bought the lottery ticket and won. But the message that the president of Tulane University sent to every black and brown kid in the city of New Orleans is the message that many universities are sending to our children on a daily basis. And that message is you can come to our university and run that rock, dunk that ball, hit that pill, stop and drop it like it's hot and entertain us, but don't you think about coming to our university and getting an engineering degree and saving yourself and your community from the next natural disaster. We wonder how universities promote sports all day long and they promote it with a certain face, then at the end of the day, they wonder why that face doesn't show up in the engineering school. They understand marketing, they understand messaging in sports, they understand marketing, they understand messaging in dancing, they understand marketing and messaging and everything else, but they don't understand marketing and messaging in STEM. And then in STEM, you gotta understand, young people don't buy into no technology. They don't bought into the technology. They got 1 billion of them on Facebook. Everybody on Facebook, but nobody won't put their face in a book. Young people buy into people. So therefore in STEM, we still do the same thing. We take a robot and we put it in a room and we have all the kids and we work with the robot and we say, nah. And the kids get up and leave and the 10 kids that come down and ask about their robot, you my man, come with me. I didn't say woman, I said man on purpose. But there's still problems with recruiting women. So I lost a 6-figure tenured position in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And all these universities said we need more diverse faculty. I got calls from about two universities. One was Greg Washington, and because he knew me, I don't know if he really wanted to hire me. I think he just felt bad and said, look man, we got a position open. And another university. So I'm not even a professor anymore. And I'm saying that because the education that you all have to give students have to be an education that's transformative over a lifetime. If I can lose a tenured position that's supposed to be guaranteed, I want you to know you're going to change some jobs in your life. You're going to lose some jobs. An unbelievable thing, I came home. And, I used to show up to work playing Tupac, It's Me Against the World. And I'll leave work playing Biggie, Who Shot You? It was rough. But I used to be in there fighting every day. And I got tenure. I was a bad boy. I used to walk around the city like, that's Dr. Mackie at Tulane. I'm like, that's right. Then I started walking around, they going, that's Dr. Mackie, he lost his job. Can you imagine that? So I come home. Then after that Hurricane Katrina, 8 relatives that moved into my house. Because everybody had lost their house. And I come home and there's a guy cutting my palm tree. And I get out the truck and he said, Doc. I go, what's up, man? And I open my front door. When I open my front door, my 2 sons playing with their train. They see me. They say, Daddy. And they run to me. They grab my leg. I say, I love you, son. They say, we love you, Dad. I said, love you. And I look over their shoulder and the train just playing by itself. And I went in the kitchen and my beautiful wife was cooking. She was cooking for everybody. She had red bean on the stove. She had jambalaya on the stove. She had shrimp creole on the stove. She had some gumbo on the stove. They had the vent on, they had the lights on, they had the air conditioning on, they had the window up. I just saw money going on. See, the students don't understand now. My little nephew had moved in with me, and he in the corner, he got his computer on, he got his iPod plugged in, he got the earphones plugged in, he got the TV on. I mean, he just got just everything just plugged in. My old uncle had moved in with me. He lost 2 houses in Hurricane Katrina, and he's sitting there with the 62-inch television on all day watching CNN like this. My big brother had moved in with me. My big brother was upstairs, 4 years my senior. He's upstairs, and upstairs he got the lights on, the TV on, the computer on, the air conditioning. I'm like, man, can you just come downstairs? Can everybody just get in one room? And my daddy had moved in with me, and my daddy was a roofer. Dropped out of school in the 8th grade to pick cotton. And in 1965, he started a roofing company. And for 40 years, he did roofing, raised 6 kids, sent them all to college. And this big, strong man, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, lost his business, he lost his house, and eventually he lost his life. The week before Hurricane Katrina, my dad was diagnosed with level 2 lung cancer. He's supposed to start his treatment a day of Hurricane Katrina, but we evacuated. It took us 6 weeks to get him back in the system. After we got him back in the system, they had to re-diagnose him because the water destroyed all his records. By the time we re-diagnosed him 2 weeks later, the cancer had spread to all over his body. And young people, I thank God I had done something with my life. And that my education allowed me to aspire to a position in America where I could do for my daddy when he needed me. When this imperfect man needed me, I was there for him. And that's what an education does for you. It gives you opportunity. So you didn't have to worry about another man or woman to do for you. You could do for yourself. And my daddy had moved in with me, and at that time the governor, Kathleen Blanco, had appointed me to the Louisiana Recovery Authority, and I was fighting with the White House, trying to get funding for Louisiana. So every day I'm driving back and forth from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. And my daddy was on hospice. He's sitting in the corner. He got his oxygen mask on. He got his machine plugged in. He waving. And there I go, I'm standing in the middle of the floor, looking around, saying all these people depending upon me, and I done lost my job. And I began to harken back on the lessons from my mom and my dad. My mom used to tell me all the time, baby, put something in your head and nobody can take that from you. And my daddy told me a man and woman, if they don't get up and go out and kill, they shall not eat. And those lessons are the lessons that we got to give all of our students right now. You put something in your head and nobody can take that from you. A BS degree right now is almost a minimum. Something is wrong when the rest of the world is training their kids and inspiring their kids to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, and scientists and mathematicians, and we training the whole nation in America to be pimps, pushers, players, hustlers, and $2 tricks. I said it, I'm in it, and I'm here to represent it. Something is wrong. We got to get all the education that we can get. Something's wrong in a free country called America when we almost have to beat people across the head, almost bribe them to come get the education that children from other nations are dying to get. When the Commerce Department have already told us that out of the Fortune 500 companies right now, 40% of them, 40% of the 4,500 companies right now was created by immigrants or children of immigrants. Something is wrong. Greg alluded to the fact that there's 7 billion people in the world. According to Jim Clifton in the book, The Coming Job Tour, out of 7 billion people, Gallup did a poll, and there's 5 billion people aged 15 or over. Out of 5 million people, 15 or older, 3 million of them say they want a good job. And what's a good job? A quality job, 30 hours a week, paying enough money to have a certain quality of life. The only problem that right now in the world, there's only 1.2 billion good jobs. So that means right now to date, 1.8 billion people want good jobs and cannot find them. And you think you're competing against USC or Berkeley? You're competing against the world. Oh, we ain't worried about the world, Doc. We're talking about America. Well, let's talk about America. You got 300 million people in America. Now, the 300 million people, you got 150 million people who want the good jobs. Out of 150 people, 50 million that want the good jobs, 15 million people are so-called unemployed. And out of that 150 million people, another 15 million is so-called underemployed. That's people who have skills that otherwise do jobs that they otherwise cannot get. That's engineers working at a donut shop. That's engineers serving coffee. That's people who otherwise cannot find the work that they've set their heart to. So that means there's 30 million people in America either unemployed or underemployed. And you think that somebody gonna come to this campus and just recruit you because you went to UCI or somewhere else and got a degree and now you're entitled to the job? That's America 30 years ago. I remember we graduated, people were lining up to give us jobs. But now you're competing against the world. Bill Gates go to Congress every year and sit down in front of Congress and he begged Congress for more H-1 visas because he doesn't even believe that we're gonna grow the capital that we need to satisfy the job in a place called America. So I tell students right now, you better work hard. You better get up every day and you better work hard. Maybe you don't understand. Maybe you understand if I say maybe you better get up every day and you better hustle, hustle, hustle hard. Wiz Khalifa say, work hard, play hard. But we live in a country right now, the only thing we want to do is play. Nobody don't want to work. Everybody want to talk about the work. Everybody want to plan the work. Everybody want to get together and design the work. Everybody want to have a meeting about the work. Everybody want to draw up a diagram of the work. Everybody want to take the work and take it over there and present the work to somebody else. Then they take it over there and we got to have another subcommittee to acknowledge the work. Then we got to bring it back to this committee because that committee, since you put in a change order, we got to look at the work. Then we going to bring it over there. Now the president saying, I need more money for the work. And then he go to the dean said, now I got to raise more money for the work. Everybody about the work, but nobody want to do the work. That's America right now. Now I didn't say black, I ain't say white, I ain't say Asian, I ain't say Hispanic, I said America. And I want to let you know a little secret. What's your name then, man? Patrick, I want to let you know a little secret. Young lady, what's your name? Mika, I want to let you know a little secret. The rest of these people are not listening, but I need you all to hear me out. Because see, this people don't know. See why we clowning and we playing? See why we worrying about who's going to win the Super Bowl? And I was at Super Bowl, we had a good time. And I mean, see why we worrying about the Final Four? And see why you worrying about what's going to happen? See why we worrying about who Kim Kardashian going to sleep with next? See why we worrying about who's her baby daddy? See why we worrying about whether or not band's going to make her dance? See why we worrying about Beyonce, Jay-Z, and a baby named Blue? I got 99 problems, and they ain't one of them. See why we worrying about Xbox 360? See why we worrying about American Idol? See why we worrying about the next American dancer? See why we worrying about all that foolishness? I want to let you in on a little secret. Right now at this moment, there's a little kid in India and a little kid in China studying under the cloak of darkness to a candle, preparing for the day to kick your behind. Not even personal. It's not even personal. It's not even personal. They don't care if you're black, if you're white, if you're Asian, Hispanic. They don't care if your daddy was a crackhead, if your mama crazy, if your sister running around the street, if your brother flying kites. The only thing they want to do is take advantage of the opportunities, Kevin, that we're not taking advantage of in a place called America. Now keep tripping. Keep tripping. Professors, keep tripping. Just keep thinking that this thing gonna turn itself around. Just keep thinking that there's only a prototype archetype student to major in STEM. Keep believing that, and we'll never do the things that we need to do to compete with the rest of the world. There's a Hurricane 5 hurricane off the coast of America, worse than Katrina, that we're not preparing for. And sometimes it's just our arrogance as professors. Sometimes it's just our arrogance as so-called educated elite. We want to look at test scores, and we want to look at all this, and if the student doesn't fit the box, then there's no way they can come to our university and achieve. How dare you bring me somebody like that? See, young lady, that was me. Right now in STEM, everybody's still trying to understand how did Calvin Mackie get created, because right now, one of my main clients is the College Board, and the College Board sends me all over the country to tell this one story. Everybody we are data-driven. I am the proof that everything that can be counted doesn't necessarily matter, and everything that matters doesn't necessarily can be counted. We got to get people from hope, from despair to hope, and sometimes you can't put a number on that. Growing up in the city of New Orleans, I thought I was going to be an NBA basketball player. I had a wicked crossover and a jump shot that just wouldn't quit. A little dude named Avery Johnson was my backup. And I was going to go to the NBA, and Patrick, I was going to make a whole lot of money. And like Kanye West said, nobody was going to be able to tell me nothing. Y'all don't even have your money right, and nobody can tell you nothing. But I was going to make a whole lot of money, just like many of our kids believe right now. They're going to be the next Britney Spears, was that Swift girl, or whatever they are. They make a whole lot of money. Because that's the lie being sold to America. And that's what I thought. And one night I took a long jump shot. One of the few jump shots I missed, ricocheted off the rim. And I went to get the ball, but a young man beat me to the ball. He grabbed my ball in my arm, they went that way, I went this way, and I suffered a traumatic shoulder separation. My coach picked me up. He said, "Oh no, Calvin." And he took me to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, the doctor came in and he looked, and the doctor said, "Oh no," and the doctor ran back out. And the professor came back in with 3 more doctors. And all 4 of the doctors got around me, and they took a sheet, and they tied me up, and they did a tug of war, and popped my shoulder back in. They said, "Young man, there's 2 things we want to tell you." And I went gangsta on them. I'm like, "What?" They said, 1, you suffered a traumatic shoulder separation, and 2, you'll never be able to play basketball again. My dreams was destroyed. And right then and there, the doctors told me to go have surgery. These doctors, with all this experience, with all these degrees, told this little ignorant boy to go have surgery, but I wouldn't listen. Students, when we won't listen, we're already part of the walking, breathing, living dead with no future and no hope. When you won't listen, there must be consequences and repercussions. I wouldn't listen. 20 years later, 30 more shoulder separations. I'm speaking for the engineering school at the University of Michigan in front of 3,000 people. And I'm up on the stage acting stupid like I'm doing now. And I did a wrong move and my shoulder popped out in front of 3,000 people. And I'm on the stage like this, just stuck. And my client said, "What's wrong?" I said, "My shoulder down." He runs up. And Derek grabbed me. He said, "What to do?" He said, "Calvin, what to do?" I said, "Hold me, hold me." So we're in Michigan. And 2 grown men on the... I said, "Thank God this ain't a red state." He said, "What to do?" I said, "Twist my arm, twist my arm." He twisted my arm and he popped it back in. And he grabbed the mic. He said, "We must stop. Dr. Mackie has injured himself." And I grabbed the mic with my good arm. And I said, "No." I said, "I got 2 sons, Miles and Mason. Every day I teach them what my daddy taught me. And that is, Mackie men are smart. They finish what they start." Young people, we got to finish this race called education. You got to finish it. And with a bad arm, holding my arm like this, I finished that speech. And after I finished that speech, he rushed me to the hospital. We got to the hospital, they looked, they said, "Oh no," and they put me through 4 hours of emergency surgery. After 4 hours of emergency surgery, I had to go through 18 months of rehab. Patrick, when you don't listen, there got to be repercussions and consequences. I didn't listen. 18 months of rehab. And after 18 months of rehab, since I wouldn't listen, this is the only as high as I can raise my shoulder now, because I wouldn't listen. And now, when my 2 sons scored a touchdown, and I'm at the game like, "Touchdown!" Everybody laughing. My son's embarrassed, like, "Who daddy? It ain't my daddy." Because I wouldn't listen. We telling y'all what the future gonna be. You got to listen and then prepare. My coach took me home after I hurt my shoulder and he knocked on my door. When he knocked on my door, my mom answered the door. My mom went to a state-approved Negro high school in southern U.S. Like I said, my father dropped out of school in 8th grade to pick cotton. I grew up in a house with no books. Coach looked at my mom, and he said, your son will never be able to play basketball again. My mom looked at me, and she only had one thing to say. She said, what are you going to do now? We told you to study. We told you to study. I said, Mama, what about my shoulder? She said, boy, shut up and get in this house. That's a real mama there. We need more mamas like that in the community, and we can turn this thing around. I went in the house, I laid down, I looked at the guy, what up there? The guy said, boy, don't worry about your shoulder. You're going to do more of this work with your head than you ever thought you'd do with your legs and your arms. The next day I got up and I went to school to find my favorite teacher, Miss V. When I got to school, I said, Miss V, you heard about my... She said, shut up, Calvin. We heard about your shoulder. She said, but what are you going to do now? We told you to study. We told you to study. I said, Miss V, I don't know. She said, Calvin, tell me something. I said, I don't know. She said, Calvin, I don't know ain't good enough no more in the 21st century. She said, Calvin, in the 21st century, there are only going to be two types of people. They won't be white and black. They won't be Asian and Hispanic. In the 21st century, there will be two types of people. Those in the know and those not in the know. She said, Calvin, in the knowledge economy of the 21st century, we want you to be in the know. You see how we're here today because people in the community, Dr. Washington, your professors, they want you to be in the know. She said, Calvin, tell me something. I said, all right, Miss V, I want to be an engineer. She said, who? You? You grew up in a house with no books. She says, it's a shame when the people who get paid to inspire you don't even believe in you. I don't know about you, but I was taught life and death lives in the tongue. She said, you, Calvin? With a look on her face like, how could I even believe that I could be an engineer? She said, Calvin, do you know what an engineer does? I said, no, but it sounds real good. She said, well, look, Calvin, if you're going to be an engineer, you got to go to college. I said, bet. She said, Calvin, nobody in your family ever been to college before. I said, I don't care. I'm going to go. I'm going to college. And that's the message we got to give every kid from Santa Ana to Laguna Beach, that message, that they got to go to college. And she said, well, all right, Calvin, if you're going to go to college, you have to go take this test. I said, what test? She said, the SAT. Now, this is California. I know you've heard of the SAT before. But you see, I was ignorant. And I was ignorant because I grew up in a house with no books. And don't get bent out of shape when people call you ignorant. Ignorant means you just don't know. Stupid means there's no hope for you. Flavor Flav, stupid. I was just ignorant. When she told me to go take SAT, I was so ignorant, I thought SAT meant Saturday. And then I knew it meant Saturday, because then she told me the test was on Saturday. Genius! So that Friday, I took my little girlfriend to the game to support our team. After the game, I went to the little dance where I got my boogie on with my broke on. Then I took my girlfriend home, and I got up on Saturday morning to take my Saturday test. And all the kids who was there that had been in the 100 Black Men Saturday program and UCI Saturday Academy and Summer program and the California Gear Up program and fraternity and sorority programs and the National Society of Hispanic Engineers, test taking skills. They was there, they were nervous and they was biting their nails because they realized this was a very important day in their life. But nobody could tell me nothing. I put my head down. They had to wake me up. Say, young man, wake up, wake up. Go take this test. And they gave me that test. And when they gave me that test, I looked at that test, Robin, and I didn't know that word, it's a that word, it's a that word, it's a that word. So you all know what our kids doing, those accountability tests and California achievement tests and the ACT and the SAT when they don't know what they're supposed to know. I start going, A, B, C, D, D, C, B, A, B. Woo, I better change this thing up. C, B, C, B. Yeah, I know all y'all got the car. I looked around, I was the first one finished. I was like a bunch of dummies and put my head back. They had to wake me up and say, young man, go home, go home. And you know, back then we had to wait 6 weeks on our scores. Young people, we didn't have Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, websites, and the internet. We had to wait 6 weeks on our scores. So 6 weeks later, I went to the mailbox, and I opened it up and I looked, saw those scores. I reached in, I pulled them out, and I ripped them open, and I looked at them, and I said, oh, yeah. And I went to school to find Miss V. When I got to school, Miss V said, Calvin, you got them? I said, I got them, Miss V. Miss V said, Calvin, how did you do? Ignorantly and confidently, I looked at Miss V. I said, Miss V, I got 84%. She said, Kelvin, 84% on the SAT, Kelvin? That's unbelievable, Kelvin, especially for you. She said, but Kelvin, I never heard the test explained in percentages before. She said, Kelvin, what's your raw score? What's your total score? Ignorantly and confidently, I looked at Ms. V, and I screamed, 840. She said, no, boy, you got some issues. She said, Kelvin, the test is not out of 1,000. The test is out of 1,600. You don't have 84%. You barely have 50%. You need to go take that test again. I said, oh, no, not that Saturday test. I stick with my Friday test. That'd be much better on Friday. I was ignorant. But guess what? Ms. V realized, like I hope a lot of y'all realize, that man cannot create a test to measure what's inside of us if we're willing to work towards it. That's really the American dream. She said, Kelvin, you still want to be an engineer? I said, bet. She said, Kelvin, there's a college recruitment fair in the New Orleans Superdome next Saturday. Go down there, Kelvin. And she wouldn't give up on me like I know Dr. Washington would not give up on any of you, because his story is similar to mine. And if people would have given up on us, we wouldn't be here today. And we need more people to believe in people coming through the pipeline like us, and we could change this thing around. Next Saturday, I went to the Superdome, and I kicked that door open. And when I walked in, the first table I saw was the Georgia Tech engineers. Bill, I'm like, that's like divine intervention. I want to be an engineer, and the first table I see is the Georgia Tech engineers. And I went over to the Georgia Tech table. The guy at Georgia Tech said, what can I do for you, son? I said, man, I'd like to be an engineer. He said, you came to the right place. We're the Rambling Wreck from Georgia Tech and heck of engineers. I was like, yeah. He said, son, what's your SAT score? Ignorantly and confidently, I looked at him and I screamed, 840. He said, boy, he wouldn't even give me an application. He said, well, you can't come out of school with an 840 SAT. I've never even heard anything like that. You see, just because the school ranked #1, it doesn't mean it's #1 for you. And many of us believe that if a kid can't get into top school, a lot of, especially high school teachers, believe that they're not college material. But we live in a free country in America where there's an institution that'll take you where you are and help you where you need to be. He said, Kelvin, you can't come down to school. My dreams were destroyed. Just happened to point at a little raggedy table. Just a guy sitting at the table. They didn't even have a skirt on the table, no handkerchief, nothing. He said, go over there, that guy should be able to help you. Now I went over to that table. The guy at that table said, what can I do for you, son? I said, man, I don't know, that dude over there told me to come over here. He said, son, what you want to be? I said, I want to be an engineer. He said, you came to the right place. He said, son, what's your SAT score? This time, I said, man, I can play some ball. He said, no, I need those scores. I said, man, I can dance. He said, no, I need those scores. This time I whispered. I said, 840. He was shaking his head. He said, I tell you what, son, you're a diamond in a rough, but a diamond sure enough. Sign right here and come to Morehouse College in Atlanta. We'll make you into a doctor. We'll make you into an engineer. We'll make you into a scientist. In June 1985, my mom, who had never been on a college campus before, took me to Morehouse College. When I got to Morehouse College, everybody laughed at the way I talked because I'm from New Orleans. And in New Orleans, we talk funny. You know, it's not that we stupid, we just talk funny. And when I got to Morehouse, they laughed at me because I was saying things like, I'm bout it, how you do that there. And I'm the man right here, you heard me, little Woody? It's off the easy for sheezy up in here, cousin. You see, I'm bilingual. I'm bilingual. And there's some people in this room that can tell you exactly what I said. And my point is that just because a kid didn't come here across the Rio Grande or via Ellis Island or a raggedy boat in Florida, that doesn't mean he or she doesn't need English as a second language. Nobody was conjugating the verb to be in my house. When I got to college, it was I be, we be, you be, all us be up in here. They said, boy, don't pass go. They said, go directly to remedial reading. They said, boy, you're reading on about an 8th grade level. Can you imagine the pain and indignation I felt every day? My friends like you was going to World Lit English Comp. At 18 years old, I had to go down to a basement of a building with 8th graders where they called me and my buddy LD for Louisiana dummies. And thank goodness, in remedial reading, the teacher used to call me doctor. I didn't even know what it was. I'd get a wrong subject-verb agreement. She said, doctor, that's wrong. And in remedial reading, right then and there, I was aspiring to be whatever doctor was. I know that's what I like the sound of that. And thank goodness, every day on my way from developmental math and remedial reading, Morals understood this thing called hope. And they knew they had to get me from despair to hope before the whiteboard can help me get my degree. And on the wall, I'll never forget one day I saw a quote by Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, mentor to Martin Luther King, and the quote said, when you find out you're behind in a race of life, we got two choices, run faster or quit. The problem in America is that too many of us are quitting. And here's the great part about America. You now live in a country that's going through austerity, that stopped spending money on everything but one thing, and that's the building of jails. And Bill Gates has already done a study called The Gathering Storm that said that 30% of ninth graders are not going to finish high school, and if they black and brown, are 50%. And even Bill Gates knows that when our kids drop out of school, they're going to drop into jail. Well, we want them to drop into STEM. If they can stand on the corner and mix up drugs, they can stand at UCI and mix up chemicals. I got an alternative energy company right now where we take waste streams and convert to biofuel. We've developed something called a micro-refiner, a refinery in a box, where we do 300 gallons an hour, 6,000 gallons a day, 2.2 million gallons a year, and we got ex-dope dealers and fiends in there, ex-offenders, mixing up the chemistry for us to make biofuels. Maybe somebody didn't give them the hope when they were standing on the corner. Just maybe. So every day, Morals put me in front of that little computer, and they put me in a basement. And every day they would let the words go by faster and faster. And every day I would read and I read and I read. Every day they would call me doctor. Every day I work hard. And my friends would laugh and they laugh and they laugh. And I'd get up every day, Patrick, and I'd run and I'd run and I'd run. I did not want to go back to New Orleans. I did not want to stand on the corner. I wanted to make something out of my life. And I was at an institution that believed in me and told me that I could do it. And after 3.5 years, after starting in college in remedial reading and developmental math, 0.0 credit, after being told I was in college material after 3.5 years, I finished Morehouse, #1 in mathematics, #5 in the largest class that Morehouse had ever graduated, magna cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa. And when I came off the stage, they put a microphone in front of my face. They said, Calvin, when your father dropped out of school in the 8th grade to pick cotton, when your mother went to state-approved Negro high school, when a college board's college admission test said you wasn't college material, who'd ever thought you'd come to Morehouse to do the things you've done? They said, Calvin, what are you going to do now? I said, man, you know what? He said, what? I said, man, you know what? He said, what you going to do? I said, bro, I'm going to go to Georgia Tech. It's only 1.5 miles away and a $1.50 bus ride. Young people don't allow anybody to stand between you and your dreams, not your mama, your daddy, your race, or your socioeconomic background. You get up every day and you work like you never worked before in a place called America, and I'm here to let you know that dreams do come true. 2 weeks later, I started Georgia Tech, the school that they said I was never supposed to be there, one of the top 10 engineering schools in the country. And 18 months later, I finished my second undergraduate degree, a BS in mechanical engineering, 2 degrees in 5 years. To the inner city ghetto kid from back in town, Gert Town, Zion City of New Orleans, who they said never should have been in college in the first place. And you want me to believe they got kids in inner city LA that can't come here and achieve? And don't get it twisted, this is not about me bragging, this is not about my greatness, but it's about the greatness in every kid that's outside this building that we gotta save. 2 years after that, bro, I got a master's in mechanical engineering, 3 degrees in 7 years. Every Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, all of them wanted me. Chevron gave me job interviews in Bakersfield, California, Texas, El Paso, Beaumont, Texas, Pascagoula, Mississippi. I turned them all on. Chevron really wanted me. So they gave me a job interview in my hometown in New Orleans. They took me to a high-rise building overlooking the Superdome. They took me to the top of the building, and at 24 years old, they gave me a check for $50,000. Now that's gangster. Then they said, join our organization. Then they took me to the roof. They put me in a helicopter. They flew me over my house. They took me out the port for Sean to an oil rig. Then they put me in a seaplane. Then they put me in a limo. They brought me back to the building. They brought me back to the top. And they said, Calvin, you down with us? I said, man, you don't understand. When I was 12 years old, I put doctor on my door. Now, I thought I was going to be Dr. Jake. But since that didn't work out, I heard Georgia Tech has something else left in there. And 4 years later, in 1996, I became one of 11 African Americans in the country that year to receive a Ph.D. in mechanical engineering. Now, Irvine, I didn't come here today to brag. I came here today to tell you that story, to let you know that each and every one of us been impregnated with something so great, such that if we give birth to it, it'll make Bill Gates look like a midget in the annals of history. But yet and still, in a free country called America, where we can get up every day and create a better tomorrow, too many of us are already committed to having abortions on our dreams. What you dream about? What you want to do? What you want to give a life to? What you want to change? If you were to die today, what people would say about you? I get up every day and I work, tomorrow to me ain't promised. My great-grandfather was a slave and died at 88. My grandfather was a son of a slave and died at 80. My daddy was the son of a sharecropper and died at 62. My mom died at 51. I'm 45. There's some things I gotta do. I ain't got time to play. My dad used to say all the time, he said, son, I quit school because they have recess. I don't play. So I work. And the promise in America is that, and Booker T. Washington said, a man or woman that get up and provide a service, give something to this world that the world otherwise need and use, and provide it in a way that no other man or woman willing to provide it, you will not go without reward. But we running away from work like Superman running away from kryptonite. If you knew what was waiting on you outside of these buildings in the world, there wouldn't be a building with the lights off at UCI at night. When I was a professor at Tulane, I used to get mad at my students. They say, why? I said, because you sleep too much. Why don't we dream about creating a future? The only thing we tweeting and twatting and yamming, we on Buggergram and Dottagram and your mamagram all day, and the rest of the world creating a technology to turn you into economic slaves. At the end of the day, the person or the country that controls the GDP of the world can control the world. And right now, our GDP is only 3 times that of China. Our GDP is growing at 2% annually. China's GDP is estimated to grow at 10% annually. They're saying in 30 years, China's GDP going to totally control ours, and we will not be the leader of the free world. I know that shocks some people. And furthermore, if you get on a plane and land in some countries and look at the infrastructure, you come back looking at America with one eye open. Maybe we need to do some work. I'll never forget, man, I was a professor, and I reminisce about being a professor when I get on college campuses. I just tear come out my eye, just smell like Similac, all of the young people running around. And I'll never forget, I was in my office, and my area was great hydrodynamic stability. If you have a fluid dynamics group here and they need a consultant, I'm available. That's a pitch for an unemployed researcher. And I used to do hydrodynamic stability and stability, young ladies, how things go from being linear to being turbulent. Like if you have a little brother and you always have the hose pipe and you put your hose pipe on your little brother, then you tell little brother, drink out the hose pipe. Then when he try to drink out the hose pipe, you turn the water up fast and go, it was laminar, then it went turbulent. So that's what I study, is solidification processes. And I was sitting in my office one day and the phone rang. I answered the phone. And I had a beautiful office at Tulane overlooking the Mississippi River. Sometimes I used to sit back and kick my feet up and watch the ships go by. It was wonderful. And this guy called and he said, look, and he was talking loud and there was a thumping in the background. Thump, thump, and he was screaming. And he said, Dr. Mackie, do you hear that thumping? I said, I hear that thumping. He said, look, I got a problem at my job. I said, look, I'll be there in a minute. And I got in my truck and I went down to his job. When I got to his job, sure enough, there was a big pipe in the back. And the pipe was like vibrating. I put my hand on the pipe went thump, thump, thump. And he said, what's wrong? I said, it seems to me you have a hydrodynamic stability problem. He said, can you fix it? I said, that's what I do. He said, well, fix it then. And I went out to my truck, and I came back with my tool, and I hit it with a hammer. Bam! And all of a sudden, the pipe went smooth. That's engineering 101. Hit it with a hammer first. And if that doesn't work, then you read the manual. He said, look, man, build me. I said, I'm definitely going to build you. And I went to my office and I typed up an invoice. And I faxed it to him. And he got the invoice. And he read the invoice and he looked at it and he picked up the phone and he called me. And he said, man, this is $200. You think I'm going to pay you $200 for hitting a pipe with a hammer? I said, oh, you must want the itemized bill. He said, well, break it down. I said, well, let it be broken. And I typed it up, broke it down, I faxed it to him, wham. And he got the invoice. And when he got the invoice second time, he looked at it, and the invoice said $2 for the hammer, $198 for knowing where to hit it. See, the man and woman who knows how will forever have a job. The man and woman who knows how will forever have a job. But the man and woman who knows why will forever be their boss. We need y'all to learn the how in undergrad so you can get a job. But in America, we need you to know the why so you can forever be the boss and create companies. In 1998, 50% of all technology founded in America was founded by people of Indian descent, because the Indian Institute of Technology teaching their kids the how, the why, and we too busy teaching our kids the how so they can get them a good job so they can get laid off. We need you to aspire undergrad, then we need you to aspire to go to grad school to know the why, to create the next round of technology. UC Irvine is located in one of the richest places in America. Money ain't no problem. We now live in a world where they need ideas. They got places right here, Laguna Nil. So I saw some houses last night. I thought they were gonna ask me to take out the garbage or something. I mean, the house is so bad. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get back in the car. People looking for ideas to invest in. We need people like you to come up with the ideas so people can invest in them and we can create the next 100, 200 years of jobs, the next Microsoft, the next Facebook, the next Oracle, so that our children would know one day what we was about. And in closing, I want you to know, riding around last night, and I told Greg, I need to go see these big old houses up on the hill, man. And we was riding around, and he took me over there, Laguna something. He said, it's the richest place in Irvine. And I said, no, it's not the richest place in Irvine. He said, how you know? I'm telling you, you don't live here. We've been arguing like that for 20 years. I'm like, I'm telling you it's not. He said, I told you, you can Google it. I said, no. I said, Greg, that's the richest place in Irvine. He said, what's that? I said, that's a graveyard. He said, how could that graveyard be the richest place in Irvine? They got billionaires live over here. I said, no, that's the richest place, not only in Irvine. It's the richest place in California, Louisiana. It's the richest place in Michigan. It's the richest place in America, because you can go to the graveyard, and that's where most of us go with most of our hopes, our dreams, our passions, and our trillion-dollar ideas still within us. We don't want that for you. We don't want that here at UC Irvine. You all can be the incubator of greatness to the world from right here, only if you aspire to be it. And that's what we need not only at Irvine, it's not only what we need in California, but that's what we need in a place called America. Let's make it happen. Thank you all for listening.
Okay. We'll take some questions. Anybody?
Yes, I have a question. What are we doing to help employers get the message that we need to inspire the confidence of the young up-and-coming students? Because I think, in my opinion, there's a need for employers to hear that message much more clearly today. And for some reason, the message is not being heard in some areas.
Not only is it not being heard with the employers, it's not even heard at, I'm to a point now, and Greg is working with me, he's like my counselor. I refuse to talk to the National Science Foundation. Like, the more I talk to them, the dumber I get. And the problem is that there's a generation gap. Like, the National Science Foundation just did something called changing a conversation. Well, I said we need to change the conversator. We need to change the people speaking to the kids, because that's what, these are the type of stories that get kids from despair to hope, not the technology that you all putting the money into. So what the employers need to understand is that, and the employers do understand it, they just don't know how to get to the next point. Understand. And the reason why a lot of my colleagues in STEM don't understand is because if you're in a lab 14 hours a day, doing whatever research you're doing, and then somebody pull you out that lab and take you down to Santa Ana High, and you put you in front of those kids, is a disaster waiting to happen. Because you all are in two different places. And what we have to do, and I've been working with NASA on this, is to create almost like an army of people who otherwise can reach the kids where they are. The gap between my generation and the generation that gave birth to me is very small compared to the gap between my generation and the young people today in school. But for the last 20 years, me and other people have spent our daily lives every day understanding how to get the message we need to them such that they will want to not only aspire to be us, but willing to put in the work to do that. Now, what we need from the corporations is this, and this is where the corporations, and I was on the phone all day with a major corporation this morning about it, is they're like, we need tangible data. I give you this, and then you start delivering me students, and that's data. I said, well, you know what? All y'all fighting for the same people. I'm on the phone with the big four accounting firms, and they saying, we can't find people to go in accounting. We need your help. And I'm on the phone with technology people saying, we can't find engineers. I just did a gig for Walmart. Walmart looking for IT people. We can't find ITs. Well, all of you all fighting for the same people. And the pipeline is very small. So I need you to work with me to increase the number of people going in the pipe so the numbers on the outside coming out. But they'd rather rob Peter to pay Paul and steal from each other rather than investing where it used to be. And it wasn't always like that. I was a Bell Labs scholar. Once I got to Mars and did my stuff, Bell Labs came in, and before, young people, before there was a Microsoft, there was something called Bell Labs. And everybody wanted to work at Bell Labs. It was the job, it was unbelievable, man. Everybody else was crazy, but it was an amazing job. And that's where all the technology comes. That's where fiber optics come out of Bell Labs. And, you know, I was a Bell Labs scholar. Bell Labs used to have like 2,000 fellowships that they'd give out to kids coming out of high school to major in engineering. One of the major problems with corporations right now is that they are not living up to their social compact with the community to grow the next generation of innovators. They hoping for them, they wishing for them, they complaining about them, but no. Look, I say, I'm a capitalist too. Put your money where your mouth is. And the bottom line is that they have to understand that this is going to take time. You don't grow an engineer overnight. So if you're only graduating 100 from UCI and you're telling me you need 200, well, you got to help me grow 400 to get 200 here to give you your 200. And sometimes the people in a decision-making position, they don't have that type of time. So that's why we need visionary leaders to say, we're going to do this and we're going to invest at this place. Now, I would love it when Bill Gates put up his $1 million and he created the Gates Fellow, that if he had created all that money and put it totally into people going into STEM. I mean, Bell Labs grew. What's his name? West, who just got the Presidential Medal of Honor from President Obama at the White House. I mean, I had a relationship with him because we was Bell Labs scholars. NASA used to have the NASA scholars that's been cut. Many companies was investing in young people at the high school level in the hope that one day they would get them. And now these are the people really at the highest echelon of technology in America. And that's the message we're trying to bring to corporate America. And they can do it. I mean, you got all these companies with foundations, and here's the problem, and this is why I get in trouble. They'd rather take their foundation money and put it in things that otherwise would give them a lot of attention, rather than put it in things that otherwise would give them a return 10 years down the line. So you have a major engineering company sponsoring like a concert, something stupid. I mean, you got, anyway. So, NASA running around with Mary J. Blige and Will I Am is the person for, STEM now, and Alicia Keys down with BlackBerry now. It's a bunch of foolishness. And then they wonder why they're not getting the results that they want. Because you're not investing. They understand investing when they want this. But when you come around to people, somehow we just get stupid. Thank you. Yes, miss?
Aren't the universities to blame on some level too, though? Because if you took a kid with an 840 SAT and sent him over to Morehouse today, could he get in?
What's your name? Probably get me beat up.
He's trouble.
I'm having that conversation in a private meeting after this. The bottom line is this. This morning I wrote a letter to Morehouse, and I love Morehouse. I've been born 3 times in my life. Born through my mother, born through my creator, and I was born through Morehouse College. And when I die, my family gonna get some, my church gonna get some, and Morehouse gonna get some. That's how deeply I feel about Morehouse. If there wasn't a Morehouse, there wouldn't have been a Georgia Tech, there wouldn't be no Dr. Mackie. And I wrote Morehouse this morning because I'm advocating for a kid to get in. And I said, you're all about to honor me, and I wouldn't deny if I was coming out, would you let me in? So the bottom line is, yes, the universities are at fault too. And it's like an arms race. It's like the U.S. News. That's why everybody coming out now saying they lying about U.S. News, because everybody want their numbers to look better. And it's whole arms race to so-called get the best student. So now I was a professor at Tulane for 12 years, and it was unbelievable. Many of my students, but in 12 years, I taught 13 black kids. The majority of my students at Tulane were white, and over 60% came from households with household incomes over $150,000 or more. They had SATs, it was 1,200 max at the time. I mean, they had like 1,100 SATs. And the bottom line is that if I changed the example, I messed their head up. Nobody knew how to think. So I give them the entropy TS diagram with the square plank, in mechanical, and you integrate this to work in, that's to work out. On the test, I give them a circle. And they're like, well, you didn't give me the equation to find the area of a circle. But they didn't know how to take the circle and the rectangle and then subtract, and it was absolutely sad. So it is obvious to me, and it's obvious to a whole lot of people, that these scores are not predictive of outcomes. They're just not. So the universities that somehow got to find a way to find these people or find people otherwise that they believe they can come in and nurture and help them graduate. I'm working with universities right now. Some universities, a major corporation this morning was telling me, well, we got all these fellowships and we can't give them away. There's not enough minorities and we can't find them. I said, well, pay me. I'll find them for you. Now, I have a contract with a university right now. I'm walking around with 25 scholarships across the nation. I speak to over 100,000 kids a year, and they've never had a problem giving away their scholarships again. If you're willing to put in the work. There are things that universities can do, but the problem line, again, in this type of political environment of austerity where we have to do more with less, they say, well, why waste money on them? And I'm going, you don't have to waste. You're going to spend, California spend more money on the penal system than they do on higher ed. So you're going to pay. You will pay. One of the major contracts I got in New Orleans is training nonviolent ex-offenders. Well, you know what? Maybe if we would put the money in on the front end, we wouldn't have to put the money in on the back end. So the problem is really these politicians. We need to do something. You game, I'm game. But yes, we need visionary leaders at the university level. And that's, I get in trouble, so I can't get no job. And after a presentation like that, president said, do I want that dude on my team? Thank you for coming one day. I don't need you here the whole day. But someone has to challenge him. And I don't know why it's me. But I know, look, I want kids to have the opportunities I had. And they deserve it. Even the state-funded schools are no longer bind by the social compact they have to the community. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's not a state school, right? Yeah. Oh, I thought this was private. But some state schools are not living. Just some. I'm going to leave that wide. Just some. Yes.
I actually do outreach, and a couple of my colleagues here that do like the K-12 outreach, and same thing. I mean, we know that there's lack of funding and there's lack of investment in education all the way throughout. But still, we do intensive, after-school programs, weekend programs, and we specifically, we work in Compton and Linwood. That's where our primary outreach efforts are here at UCI. Compton and Linwood, yep. And so, I've been with the MACE program, for 6 years now, and at the end of all of that, and some kids I've worked with, since they're in middle school, a lot of times still what's getting out the gate and what actually makes it here onto campus do seem to be those students that probably would have made it anyways. Sure. And so it's really looking for, as people that design these programs and really go out there and work in the community, it can't just be the infrastructural issues, because we have them after school and we have them on the weekends, but then they go back home. And then there's just so many other, issues that are facing them there that, how do they make a priority if they're worried about what they're going to eat at night, or somebody in their family is, incarcerated or whatever. So, just from your perspective, what are some of the things that we, as people who do that outreach and that advocacy, can really do that makes a difference?
First and foremost, don't give up. And I'm not too sure that the people that would have made it anyway would have made it without you. Because sometimes you're the only hope that they had when it was going through. You saw light in them and kept it alive. 2, communication is the key. That's the whole thing I'm trying. A lot of things I brought out in my story, it was like, English as a second language. A lot of things that people question. I don't speak Spanish. That's a whole nother story. I traveled all these, Spanish nations with a girl. I ain't get the girl and I ain't get the language, so I digress. So the thing is, people save people. People save people. And I'm more committed to this now because I've been doing this for 20 years. When I was in grad school I started grad school in 90. In grad school, they told me stop doing this. When I was working on my Ph.D., they told me to stop doing this. When I became a professor, they really told me to stop doing this. They're like, you ain't gonna continue because you're out on the street. And I'm saying, if I gotta stop doing this, then I'm gonna stop doing this. And now I'm getting to see at 45 the fruits of my labor. And I'm getting those letters. I'm getting people that's graduating from medical school. I mean, I'm getting a guy that was. I could bring you 2 engineers right now that was formerly incarcerated, got out, and called me up and got back in school and got their engineering degrees. I mean, so you never know the impact you're making, but we know the impact that will be made if you're not there. And that's when you're in this business, you got to be in it for the long haul. There's going to be a lot of pain because you see kids with potential, you see kids who can otherwise do things, and you wonder really if you're reaching them. I mean, but you got to plant the seed and be gone. Mace is a great program, but just think if they never had that exposure. If you never had that exposure. I mean, some young lady may become a nurse's aide, may become a physician's aide, and it's not really what we wanted for them, but for them that may be their Oscar. So when I say communication, I got an article I'll make sure you get, but communicating with our kids, there's 4 components: sender, message, channel, receiver. The sender has to be authentic and credible. The message has to be concise and specific. The channel has to be open and clear. And the receiver has to be targeted and understood. A lot of people doing outreach do not understand the sender. The biggest problem is them right now. Many of my colleagues sitting around in universities saying, look, I don't have to understand them. That's the arrogance that brought us to this point, but that's the arrogance that's going to kill us. I had a professor tell me I would never get on Facebook, and I said, that's why you're a dinosaur. You have to go to where the students are. I got a YouTube channel. I got a Facebook with 10,000 people. I'm arguing with the National Science Foundation. They said, well, we gave out a grant to build a Facebook page, and they were so proud. I said, well, I got no money and 10,000 followers. You got, 18 billion and 700 people? Somebody doing something wrong. So the bottom line is that in this outreach effort, it has to be so intense. So I go in places, guys say, look at dog. I say, look, it's Dr. Dog. I earned the doctor. I can be Dr. Dog. And right there, you're a doctor. So right then and there, something went off in his head. And what we're doing is that we got to shoot buckshots because we don't know. That's the problem with STEM. We want to go to that high school. We're going to make this a STEM high school, and that's all the people. We got to shoot buckshots. We have to be everywhere because we don't know where the next Einstein is. I tell a story right now to kids. Magic Johnson is nearly worth $1 billion. I try to tell the kids the difference between a gift and a talent. And I say, Magic Johnson almost worth $1 billion. And I said, you know what? Maybe Magic Johnson wasted 25 years playing basketball. Having been 15 years playing basketball. Maybe his greatest gift was his business acumen. And he wastes time trying to develop this talent to play basketball. So maybe if he would have went to college and majored in business, maybe he'll be our black Bill Gates now. Kids say, that's gangster, dog. He didn't think like that. So a lot of things I say in my presentation, I said to reach kids where they are. A lot of adults looking crazy and the kids are like, It's communication. And then once I get the authentic and credibility, now I can explain something you otherwise would reject because they buy into people. So if I can say I love you, I like you, she care about me, now you can feed them. Figuratively and literally. And that's outreach. One more question, man. No student, there you go. You know I was going to get on you. I believe I'm going to have books for sale after this too. I have my 2. No, really. And I got a credit card machine. I take food stamps. I take WIC. Remember, I'm unemployed. I got to feed kids. And reading is fundamental. If you read, you can achieve. Brother man, stand up now.
I've been having a question for quite a while. I'm not an engineer, but I have a mentor. My dad was an engineer. My dad was a PSU. He's a chemical engineer. And my mentor, his name is He went to Georgia Tech, and he works for Raytheon now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, another mentor. He works here at Auditorium.
Thomas Parham?
Yes.
I don't know that dude. Yeah, I know it.
I don't know, because most of my mentors, they come from the South. They came from the South, and they were engineers. And this idea of just, having a passion to be an engineer has just come up for them. My my dad grew up with like his dad died basically, and like I don't know, like this idea of having a passion, like America, like I remember America, like only reading about it, but it was like America at a certain time, like we used to like dominate the industry of like engineering. My dad worked for IBM. Like, as I mentioned, he works for Raytheon.
Right,
So I'm trying to think of an idea, like if I had tried to send in that idea to Obama, like how would you try to have like some sort of like a group or coalition to try to get American students back in, like compared to India and China?
Well, that was the question the lady asked back here. One quote I didn't give you when I was presenting, James Baldwin said, a passion is unfriendly. When I was telling you the difference between a passion and anger, he said a passion is unfriendly. He said a passion is angry. He said a passion is contemptuous of all that is not itself. But more importantly, he said a passion contains a challenge, and a passion contains an unspeakable hope. I was speaking recently at Wilberforce University, and a guy got up, and he was from Nigeria, and he talked about how they didn't have lights and water, and how students in his village in Nigeria, all of them were literate and all of them wanted education. I talked about in the South, many of us that came out of this Southern paradigm, where our parents and grandparents really grew up sharecropping, they had the same passion. So sometimes survival is the mother of invention. Sometimes when you don't have nothing, you get something inside of you that said, I never want to be in this position again. And I'm going to make sure you get a copy of my book. A young man asked me the other day, he said, you're meeting with the president, you're sitting down with world leaders. He said, did you dream about that? I said, young man, I grew up in a house where my mom would buy cheese, and the only reason she bought cheese was for two reasons: to make my dad a ham and cheese sandwich, or to make macaroni and cheese on Sunday. I said, young man, my dream was about one day having a job I could make enough money to buy some cheese and eat when I want. Sometimes little dreams are like that. I said, I lived in a house where mom would buy orange juice, and the only person that could drink orange juice was my daddy. We used to drink Kool-Aid. My dream used to be that one day I just wanted to make enough money where I could just have juice when I wanted. And I promise you, you come to my house right now, in the garage, I got a refrigerator inside, but I got a refrigerator in the garage. And if you open up that refrigerator in the garage, you know what you see? Orange juice and apple juice and cranberry, every type of juice in the world. So sometimes the passion that's needed. The problem in America is that too many of us are fat and just lazy. Maybe sometimes we need to hurt. Sometimes we need to say we're not going to help you. Sometimes we need to say, look, struggle is good for the soul. And some people don't want to struggle. And furthermore, it's funny, I'm in Irvine, you go to these middle class, upper class places, and the kids that's giving them much. A report just came out that said the kids that receive the most support from home are the kids that, they do worse in college. Because a whole lot of our kids, parents, have Raytheon, IBM executives, and they think in the future somebody's going to feed them. And somehow the parents got to let them know. My daddy walked me out. My daddy was a roofer. I started talking that same trash one day. My daddy walked me out to the house. He turned and he said, look, what you see? I said, our house. He said, no, you see my house. You have nothing here. I lived in a house where at 9 o'clock everybody had to be gone. And at 9 o'clock everybody was gone. Even the dog used to leave. The dog used to come back at 5 o'clock dirty and muddy looking for his dinner too. So the bottom line is that, and I'm talking, the White House got a whole STEM committee. I wrote them all the time. Please put me on this committee. And there's a whole lot of people who don't understand the problem. Ursula Burns at Xerox, bless her heart, she's CEO of Xerox. So you got all these high people, but the problem down here, man. And I keep telling them, take one walk with me through the hood. Come on, one through the hood. If you want to solve this problem, just come. Let's have one conversation in the hood. Gun violence in Chicago, they say, Obama, you really concerned about guns? Come on to Chicago, bro. You remember? You used to be a community organizer. Well, all these people getting killed. Maybe you need to make a visit. So if we're going to solve the STEM problem and get this passion back, we got to have some very difficult conversations. We got to put the resources there to make sure that once I beat you up, I give you an avenue to do what we're asking you to do and give you the support to do it. Many people don't have hope. Many people don't have hope. Out of the 30 million people in America that's either unemployed or underemployed, the Gallup data survey said 18 million out of 30 million have totally lost hope of ever finding a good job. And that's what they say. So we don't need to bust a move. This is what I'm telling the White House. We need a movement. And the movement will not be led by Will.I.Am or Alicia Keys. This is a movement of hand-to-hand combat where people like me, her, and other people are out there literally saving young people hand-to-hand, bringing them to universities like this. And I know we need to go, but here's the deal. Everybody wants data. They got people sitting right now, well, you give me data to show that. When we present the data that those type programs work, then they dismiss it. There used to be a program called GEM. GEM brought more blacks and Hispanics to grad school in America in history than ever. Matter of fact, GEM brought students to Georgia Tech.
GEM program is still going on.
GEM program still exists right now, and GEM program is so underfunded, now they might have 60 scholars a year. GEM program used to have 300-400 people a year funded by major corporations for people to go to grad school. GEM is nowhere near, young lady, where it used to be. They used to have a gigantic STEM conference. There was a predecessor to me named Howard Adams, and Howard Adams would walk around with 300-400 fellowships in his pocket. And when the kids say, I don't believe I can go to grad school, he'll do what I'm doing to you, and say, not only can you go to grad school, and put the money in your hand. And almost every black right now, Hispanic or black in some senior position with a Ph.D. in science, technology, and mathematics, they keep going back to Howard Adams and GEM. And they had a corporate roundtable funding it in a way that was absolutely unbelievable. They got the data. What's not in it is their heart, because they've lost their social compact. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And seriously,